It's the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, man. I'll tell you what, Micah Parsons got paid. What does that mean for Nik Bonitto, Greenlaw, Alex Singleton? They're going to be on a snap count, according to Sean Payton. And hey, that running back room, there's only room for two, maybe three. We're going to get to all of that. Plus, we haven't even talked practice squad since last time we saw you. Let's get this all rolling. It's about time to get going right about now. If you're not in the room already, if you're not already listening and you're always catching us live, how dare you? You didn't hit the notification and subscribe button. Welcome in, everybody, to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. My name is Keith Brugman. I can already see you all piling in there. Love you all so much, man. There's lots to talk about, man. Last time we were on here, we had just finalized a 53-man roster, and now we've got practice squad. We've got big trades and big contracts and big news from Sean Payton. And here to help me with all of it, in fact, he pretty much wrote the script for this evening, Mr. Trevor Rocketman Salzman. How you doing this evening, Trevor?
Doing well, Keith. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we're right almost close to week one, and we're still getting and we just got the biggest trade I think we've seen all offseason. And it's absolutely crazy. That we're still in that time period, and what a time period for the Cowboys to trade Micah Parsons. I mean, we'll get into it a little bit later, but I don't question trading Micah Parsons. I question the time frame you decided to trade Micah Parsons. But doing well, Keith. Excited to be here. Talk Broncos, of course, and get ready for week one and wrap up training camp and all the practice squad and everything. Wrap everything up off season wise, and looking forward to a week one of the regular season.
Man, what are we talking about? We are like 8 days away from the eve of Broncos season starting, man. We're going to be talking a ton of Denver Broncos versus our first opponent, the Tennessee Titans, right? We're going to be talking a lot about that a week from today. A week from today, me and Trevor are going to be doing a huge breakdown. But man, there's lots of breaking down we could get to. And typically I go I don't know, chronological order, Trevor. And I'd say, let's get all into the practice squad. Throwing that all out the window, man. Like you said, probably one of the biggest trades of the offseason, by far the biggest trade of the offseason. I can't think of one that's any larger than this offseason. One of the largest contracts we've ever seen, ever, especially when you talk about a non-skill player position, however they want to label it, again, just monumental and kind of shifts the landscape of the NFL and the Denver Broncos. I'm going to say hello to a few friends, and we're going to get into that right away. Ernie Mays coming in here saying, go Broncos country only, Bo Nix for 6. Hello, Keith and Trevor and Jody and Kenny K. Love you representing everybody there, buddy. And hello to you, Mr. Ernie Mays. Good to have you with us. Graham's coming in saying, hi, everybody. Mr. Michael Ronquillo is coming in saying, good evening, Keith and Trevor and Go Bo Broncos. Got the blue and orange hearts. Got that mile high salute. I'll be flipping between accounts, but my guess is there might be a present for us on the other side of that. If not, it's always a present to have everybody's friend Michael Ronquillo with us. Rodney Garcia wants to talk about Micah Parsons, so I'm going to save that one for just a second as well. And he's also just saying, happy Friday, Keith and Trevor and the posse. That's all of you all. We appreciate you all a ton, and we appreciate you rocking on here on a Friday night. So I'll bring this up. I haven't even read it yet. With Micah Parsons' deal, what does this mean for Bonitto? Obviously, Bonitto's not on Parsons' tier or level. I'm thinking a 4-year deal at probably 28.5 a year. I'd be guessing at that point, not in total, but 48 or 28.5 per year. Trevor, I'm just going to hit the first part of this first. What does this mean for, I don't know. First and foremost, I mean, you can dabble in what it means for the Cowboys, what it means for the Packers, but what does it mean for the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I mean, for the Broncos, I'll start with Broncos first. What does it mean for the Broncos? I mean, it means they better pony up here pretty soon, probably to pay Nik Bonitto. And what the Broncos have done this offseason as far as taking care of their own, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Nik Bonitto is signed, sealed, and delivered before week one. We've got a little while. I think they were working on it. I know they've been in discussions for a little while now on a contract. So it's just kind of getting everything, set up. I mean, it's a big deal for both sides. And Nik Bonitto's camp was waiting. I've said that before on this very show. Nik Bonitto's camp has been waiting for guys like Trey Hendrickson, guys like Micah Parsons to get their deals because it's going to set his value up a little bit higher and set the market for edge rushers. And I'm right there with Rodney too, Keith. I think that I would say, you're talking about $30 million, I think, each season for Nik Bonitto right now. The thing is, if you're the Denver Broncos, do you hold off on that, or you go and franchise tag him and wait on him a little bit longer? That's the next thing. Then we'll get in that discussion here pretty soon, a little bit deeper. But and then quickly on the Packers and Cowboys, I'll just kind of touch on that really quickly as well. For the Packers, I mean, this is a team that hardly ever makes big trades like this, and the fact that they made this huge of a splash in the NFC as conference is absolutely huge for them. I think just goes to show that they're ready to compete now. They have their quarterback locked up long term. They're ready to win now, and they're willing to give up multiple first round picks to do so. Cowboys, you don't know what Jerry Jones is going to do, and that's the thing. I touched on it to start the show. I said I don't mind them trading Micah Parsons. The problem with trading Micah Parsons is you waited right before week one when the value was down on Micah Parsons. Why would you wait? And then the teams that are interested because of the cap, what you're having to pay Micah Parsons, what now, $46 million a year? You have to wait because now teams right now and that list is short. Their cap situation. You have to wait for a team to be able to have enough cap to be able to take Micah Parsons on this year and have the flexibility from a cap standpoint to have enough money to lock him up long term. That list was a lot longer this last offseason. Why you waited this long to trade Micah Parsons is beyond me. If you're going to move him, I would have moved him in the offseason, probably closer to the draft. I'm not sure why Jerry Jones waited this long. I do think long term, Green Bay, I think, will get the better half of this deal. We got to see what the Dallas Cowboys, those 2 first-round picks, of course, end up turning into. Kenny Clark, really good player, though, all-pro, and a 3-time Pro Bowler. So I actually like the deal for Dallas. I just think they could have got more if they would have traded a guy like Parsons sooner.
Yeah, I think the value has been criticized, whether it would be done sooner or done now, whether they got the full value of what could be, one of the better, pass rushers, disruptors, in the game. And as much as, I mean, for a guy that ended up being traded, Jerry Jones certainly was throwing some slop his direction, as I guess is the best way to put it, and not necessarily building his value by saying he's not always out on the field. But, Micah Parsons is a different type of athlete. And I think the Packers probably got away with one. This is what I wanted to bring to the table, and it's what Peter has brought to the table. By the way, Michael Ronquillo did have a little present in there for us, man. Always taking care of us, man. 100 stars, Michael Ronquillo. I just got to give you some love, some appreciation for appreciating us in what we do, and gifting us with the stars over on Facebook. We appreciate it a ton, my friend. Peter is coming in and says, one of the biggest trades of all time. Jerry didn't get a lot in return, in my opinion. Now, this is where my biggest concern was. Jerry Jones, right after this trade, was out there talking about it and saying, hey, there ain't nothing saying that we can't go out there with what we got and get ourselves somebody right now. There's not a whole lot of people out there that are looking for a contract anymore. Even Trey Hendrickson got his deal kind of locked up, at least for this year. Nik Bonitto, and Peter's wondering, he says, would you accept a trade from the Cowboys if they offered a first and a fourth rounder next year for Bonitto? Because this is what now the Cowboys have, and this is now the situation you put yourself in as the Denver Broncos not getting a deal done by now. You just talked about Micah Parsons, and the Dallas Cowboys and how they waited way too long maybe to get a trade or a deal done with Micah Parsons. Now the Denver Broncos are kind of looking like they're one of the ones waiting around to get their premier pass rusher taken care of in one Nik Bonitto, and now questions like this come to the table. Your thoughts around that, and then your thoughts about Peter Johnson's offer over here on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say Jerry didn't get a lot of return. I mean, 2 first-round picks is a pretty good amount, I mean, just by themselves. And then Kenny Clark on top of that. I mean, Kenny Clark's no slouch in this league. I mean, he didn't have a bad year. He had a down year last year, but the year before that, he was outstanding. And I agree with Jerry. You need to build up front. You need to build your team up front, your defensive line. That's why I've really kind of pointed that to the Broncos' perspective this offseason, really wanting them to go after, a defensive tackle and really shore up that defensive line. But I think Jerry did get a decent amount for Parsons. But my thing is, I guess, there wasn't much of a bidding war because there wasn't a lot of teams that could actually afford Micah Parsons. If you did it in the offseason, I think there would have been a much more of a bidding war than that you got now. I don't think there was a ton of teams bidding in on Micah Parsons. He's as great as a player he is. Most teams' rosters are set pretty much at this point in time. All their cap space has been spent for the most part. Select teams right now are going to give you a premium for players. So I don't see players usually of Micah Parsons' standard traded around this time. You see those guys moved in the offseason because teams want the most value for those guys, and that's the point. That's when you're likely to get the most return for those guys. As far as the Cowboys, they offered a first and fourth for Bonitto. I don't think you can do it right now. I don't, because I think Bonitto's upside, I think, is something that you're really trying to sell yourself on. And I don't know that you have an edge rusher in that an edge rusher room that has the upside that a guy like Nik Bonitto has. And that's the thing you'd have to ask yourself, because it trickles on down. If you're going to get a first and fourth round pick back, yes, okay, that's great. Who's ready to step up in Nik Bonitto's absence? If you're going to get rid of a guy like Nik Bonitto, the speed rusher, that guy, first step, quick step, elite quick step that he's got, you have another guy that can replace him, and who's gonna step up to the plate. That's the question you have to ask yourself. I think where this defense is at right now, if you're talking competing for Super Bowls, wanting to win playoff games, if you want to trade like a guy like Nik Bonitto right now, I'm not sure this is the time to do it. I know his value is very, very high right now, but again, you're trying to win playoff games. This team, I think you really want to try to give this team a chance to do so. And I think Nik Bonitto is one of the best players. I should say one of the better players on the Broncos defensive side of the ball. So I think that I don't think Denver's going to trade Nik Bonitto right now. I think they're looking to get a contract extension done with him, or they're going to franchise tag him and kind of prolong contract negotiations for another season. It's going to be one or two. It's going to be A or B.
Yeah. I'm just concerned. I'll be honest. I think the Broncos have kind of painted themselves in a little bit of a corner. Bonitto will get a payday, says Roy. Roy, welcome in, man. Good to see you, my friend. He says we'll get a payday, but not as much as Parsons. Bonitto, not close to Parsons. So Micah Parsons is getting paid an average of $47 million per year, followed by TJ Watt. And just tell me when you feel like someone is falling in comparison. TJ Watt is getting 41 on average. Myles Garrett at 40. Then you have Danielle Hunter of the Texans at 35.6. Max Crosby, and now is what's looking like kind of an aging contract at $35 million. I think it's right in that $30 million ish range, and I think if they would have came at him earlier, that would have been a lot cheaper. I mean, when you're looking at the top guy getting paid $47 million and you're trying to lock up a guy long term, he doesn't want to be locked up for probably any less than $30 million, especially if he thinks he can be that Micah Parsons $47 million a year type of guy. And then the other thing that just comes into play, and I know you're not just an X's and O's, but you're a balance and column sheet type of guy as well. This only works out for so long. I know that you'll be getting out of Russ's dead money, and that's going to help out a ton. But that Bo Nix contract is going to come knocking sooner rather than later as well. And it's nice to get Zach Allen taken care of, and Cortland Sutton taken care of, and all these different guys, and the whole offensive line that seems to be very well taken care of, it seems. And now you want to put all these pieces and parts together. You'd probably want, my guess is, Dre Greenlaw beyond this year. You probably want Talanoa Hufanga beyond this year. There's things that we all have to take in. And John Franklin Myers, I think once Nik Bonitto's contract gets done, I hate to say it, as much as we love them all, but that's all but signed, sealed, delivered. He's not here anymore. You know what I mean? So everything has to be taken into consideration. But the Nik Bonitto contract, and whether he is a Denver Bronco, the one thing that saves us maybe, Trevor, Nik Bonitto went to Oklahoma when he was in college. He may not be a big Texas fan.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, he's not, don't think, in the market to give the Broncos any sort of discount. I don't think either. Zach Allen and some of these other guys, and I'm not saying total discount, but they probably, if they hit the market, I think they would have gotten a little bit more than what they originally did get when they were signed with the Broncos. Cortland Sutton's contract, I think that was certainly a discount for Denver. If Cortland Sutton hits the market, I think he's getting more than what he got. But yeah, Keith, I'm right there with you. I mean, if I had to project, I think Nik Bonitto is probably right around where Nick Bosa is making per season, right around $34 million a year. I think that's right around where Nik Bonitto will end up at per year. From a per year standpoint. And another thing that'll be interesting is the guarantees. What does Denver kind of structure that around? Is that more of a 3-year kind of commitment to him, 5-year deal, maybe 3-year commitment, actually guaranteed money in there? So the guarantees will be something to watch for when throwing out these big contracts, because of course Denver, I think, has done a pretty good job of when to throw those guarantees in there and when not to, and just being able to construct contracts the way they have, I think, has really helped this team as well.
Dan's on kind of more your side, he doesn't think it's a bad deal. In fact, he thinks it's a pretty good deal for the Dallas Cowboys. Sometimes you just get better. Addition by subtraction. It happens sometimes. And landing a couple of first-round picks and a 3-time Pro Bowler is not the worst thing in the world. I don't know if they got completely fleeced in that regard. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, he's also saying Parsons is no Von Miller, so let's not get carried away with anything in that regard. And pointing out the fact that he obviously didn't do anything in the playoffs because, well, playoffs and Cowboys don't go hand in hand. It's not peanut butter and jelly. It's peanut butters and pickles.
But Keith, that's the thing that I think what's made the Broncos so attractive to free agents still too is they take care of their own and there's no drama. In Jerry World and Dallas, I mean, it don't matter if it's Dak, if it's CeeDee Lamb, if it's always some sort of player. I mean, usually they end up figuring it out, but I mean, there's just always some sort of drama, and it's just constant throwing each other under the bus, and it's just, I mean, no player, I don't think, wants that. I don't think they want the drama constantly, and just players want to feel like they're getting taken care of. And I think for the Broncos standpoint, they have that on their side, and they've proven time and time again they're willing to pay up and they're willing to take care of their own if they produce.
Yeah, I mean, who wants that? Who wants that constant drama? And what expense do you get that contract done with?
Mm.
When you, like you said, eventually it gets all done. It seems like to work out, they get something done with their stars down in Dallas with Micah Parsons to the side,
Mhm.
but at what expense did that happen? You know what I mean? What relationship do you now have with your player? Man, I got to give you some cred, man. Gotta give you some true credit right here because it was our last episode when we were talking about this 53-man roster. And it was you, I believe, that posed the question. Now I'm going to say all this and it wasn't you or something like that, but I believe it was you that posed the question. Does Alex Singleton and does Dre Greenlaw have a snap count to start off the season? Well, buddy, if it wasn't you, if it was Kenny, but I believe it was you.
Mhm.
And if either way, we kind of nailed it.
Mhm.
We nailed it, and Sean Payton talked about it. It's going to happen now.
Mhm.
Talk about that decision, what that means, and what that means for this roster is, obviously we'll need to look for some depth at that inside linebacker position.
Yeah, I mean, this is a position that I think on the defensive side of the ball has definitely been a weakness that we've talked about all offseason. Obviously, adding Drew Greenlaw at the upside with him on the field being healthy is just fantastic, exactly what this team needs. But yeah, snap count. I mean, I'm not going to go overboard and say like, oh, I'm just losing my mind about it. But I will say it's a little concerning starting the season. I will say, and then it's like these guys probably aren't fully healthy. You have a snap count on these guys, and that's a concern when you're constantly just having to deal with inside linebackers. Why I thought this team would keep more inside linebackers. I mean, they did. They ended up keeping what they got two extra guys, Sternad and then Reed now as well. So they do have some depth. I just thought they would maybe with Reed. It seemed like he's more of a special teams guy. Um, I don't know. Call me crazy, Keith. Are they banking on Drew Sanders coming back at some point in time and producing for this team, being some sort of depth? I know that it's not crazy, but it's like, I mean, you kept Reed around for special teams, but okay, what if there's an injury that would go down? Now you're asking Justin Sternad to be that starter for you. I mean, it's just still for me the lack of depth at inside linebacker. It's a concern when you have two guys that have had major injury issues in the past and are not getting any younger. I mean, hopefully these guys, Alex Singleton, Dre Greenlaw, can step up and be on the field, but not a lot behind them. It's just another season where we see the Broncos have to go out there on the free agent market and go sign two veteran inside linebackers just to get through the season. It's a concern of mine, and it will continue to be a concern of mine. Until we see these guys consistently be on the field. And again, hopefully they are.
Not for Peter Johnson. He says I'd put Greenlaw on a snap count all year. He is a concern. That's a concern for me, man. I didn't bring Dre Greenlaw in to be on a snap count for the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest concern about putting them on a snap count at all was the fact that this team needs to start off on the right foot. We got a couple of games that quote unquote might look easy. Let's not overlook them by any means, but look easy. And then we just get into a murderer's row of football games for like 4 in a row, Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
We'll break down the Titans game next Friday as we head into it. And, a big part of that's going to be if Dre Greenlaw, Alex Singleton are on a snap count. Now that defensive line, Trevor, that you wanted to stack up and put a lot more investment into that we didn't, is going to have that much more on their plate and on their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Dre Greenlaw isn't out there. We're right back to where we were at last year at our best. Alex Singleton now on a snap to count as well. Now we're a step backwards as far as inside linebacker is concerned, unless you really feel like guys like Sternad or Carini Reed have stepped up to a much higher level than either one of us are probably expecting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just defensive line, inside linebacker, I guess you could say would be the two biggest positions you would hope that this team would have addressed more in the offseason. But I mean, I think even just keeping the amount of defensive linemen that you kept over maybe adding an extra inside linebacker on this roster, hopefully that doesn't come back and bite them in the butt later down the line. As great as Uwazurike is and his upside is for sure as a player, I believe in him as well. And you want that kind of size on this team if he can just produce and produce consistently. You wonder if that's going to come back to bite this team in the butt, though, when and if injuries start happening in that inside linebacker room. Like, hey, could you have kept an extra inside linebacker on this team? Yeah, you're trying to get guys back on the practice squad, and you can always elevate them on game day. But it's just, yeah, I mean, just roster decisions, it's tough. It's not easy, of course. It's just you are gonna. Hopefully, you don't have to pay the price of having to add an extra inside linebacker and just going over the defensive line that you end up having. 7 they end up keeping a total. So quite a bit of depth they had in that defensive line.
Yeah, the defensive line depth is there. Maybe it pays out since the inside linebacker is going to be stretched thin. That defensive line is going to be put to the test, especially as we go up against big defensive linemen. And I expect a running game, as I expect a running game from just about every offense to start off the season. A couple of things, man. I'm going to get to Phil McLaughlin's comment in just a second because he also brought some stars with it. B, I got to say hello to our good friend, Patrick Wiltsey, saying aloha, boys. It's coffee season, meaning also Bronco season. That is, boy, I never really thought about that, man. Heading into fall, bundling up around the television with a warm cup of coffee, 11 a.m. my time for some of these kickoffs, 2 p.m. for some of the others. I drink coffee all day. It doesn't matter. and especially in those cold winter months, man. And I'm telling you, unofficial sponsor, lioncoffee.com. If you are a coffee lover, you need to check out lioncoffee.com, which leads me right into this. And we're almost right on point. We do have an official sponsor, and it's the amazing Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices for over 34 years. Once a nationwide company, now they're just hanging out in your backyard. Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming, doing shows left, right, and otherwise. I believe it's this weekend, Red Feather Lake, and then the following weekend, out at the Greeley Dog Show, man. 75 years at the Greeley Dog Show, 25 years for Morgan Trinkets being there. I'm telling you what, man, they just rock it when it comes to Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices. But sometimes you can't get out to the fairgrounds. You can't get out to the shows. It's okay. You can head on over to Etsy and type in Morgan Trinkets Co. That's Morgan Trinkets Co. And you're all set to go. Check out everything that Pearl has to offer, including silver, sterling silver, 100% sterling silver as well. All orders over $50 are shipped absolutely free. All major credit cards are accepted. Check out Morgan Trinkets at Morgan Trinkets Co. over on Etsy. Like I said, if you're in the Red Feather Lake area or in the Greeley area for the dog show, you need to check them out there as well. Trevor, we got a little bit now into that Dre Greenlaw talk, the Alex Singleton talk. Let's just round it completely out and go all the way through the spectrum of, I guess, the Sean Payton press conference. Another big one that I think that we need to hit is the running backs as well. Mm-hmm. There were some big decisions that came through the running back room. We talked a little bit about on Tuesday, letting go of a 1-year, 5th-round draft pick. Not getting him back to the practice squad. And now this running back room has some direction, I guess you could say, and maybe even some more direction from Sean Payton when he was kind of put out on the table what he prefers as far as a running back situation. Let's talk about it, buddy. What do you got?
Yeah, and another thing, Keith, is they don't have one running back on the practice squad right now. So, I mean, that's something to, of course, I think they're banking on the 4 guys they end up keeping, because Blake Watson went down, so, not a good situation for him from an injury standpoint. Hopefully, wish him nothing but the best going forward. But, yeah, I mean, just cutting SMA, it wasn't a surprise either. I mean, and I think if you're SMA, you're kind of hoping you get cut anyway, because this is a team that, yes, you had your opportunities last year, but you were last you're pretty much the last running back to get carries on this team going
Yeah.
into the preseason. It just became clear the coaching staff was not very impressed with Otter May and just him, improving. I know that he's only been in the league a year, but running backs, we've talked about this multiple times now. Running backs have a shorter leash. Otter May has a shorter leash. It's good to see him get picked up, and again, wishing nothing but the best and in Philly with the Eagles. But it just became clear that he just wasn't the running back that Sean Payton envisioned him to be at this point in time. I think you're drafting a guy in the 5th round, and you're hoping you can develop him and develop those, some of those skills that you want and you're looking for in your running back room is pass blocking, maybe being a little bit more of a better receiver out of the backfield. And he just didn't have those. You look at this running back room, J.K. Dobbins, really good pass blocker. When he's on the field, of course, but good receiver in the backfield as well. Has good vision. Look at Jaleel McLaughlin. He's got the speed. He's a good receiver in the backfield. Pass blocking, it may be one of his weaknesses, but he offers still more than Otter May. And then of course with RJ Harvey, kind of the same thing with Jaleel McLaughlin. He needs to work on his pass blocking, but it's explosive. Can be a good pass catcher in the backfield. And then Tyler Bidet is just kind of your do-it-all kind of running back that you had that Sean Payton absolutely loves. So just wasn't a lot of room for Otter May on this 53-man roster. And unfortunately, he had to be one of those guys that were cut, but not surprising. Just kind of knowing what this coaching staff, at least it seemed like, thought of him.
Well, then that doesn't necessarily transition all that well into this particular question and stars that came in from Phil. Phil, I appreciate you so much. By the way, Patrick, when he dropped the comment about coffee, but just offhand, jump back in, gave us 100 stars. Thank you, Patrick Wiltsey. We appreciate you, man, a ton, man. Mm-hmm. So another big supporter of the show, man. We've been doing this for a while, man, and I can tell by the views right now, you guys are stacking it in there. I wish I saw as many likes and loves and wows and everything else on it. That's okay, man. As many as you can. We appreciate it. But Phil's been supporting us as well, like Patrick and Michael Ronquillo. But he has a great question. Like I said, I guess it doesn't relate to the running back room since you feel it's a little bit stacked up, even though we don't have much on the practice squad. But he says, almost missed the new start time. Appreciate you jumping in here. He says, who or what position will be a pickup for the Broncos before the season starts, if any? Now, I don't know if running back fits that need for you, Trevor, but if you could go out there and you could find a position of need for the Denver Broncos that you would sign onto this roster, which means you need to get rid of somebody, where would you target, and do you think they pull that trigger?
Yeah, I think they're pretty satisfied with this roster right now. I think you can pretty much expect this to be the roster on opening day. Sean Payton said it too, and George Payton did as well. They like where this roster's at. I don't foresee them making any moves right now. I think unless an injury happens, maybe they go out there and make a move then. But again, if you're going to add somebody to this 53-man roster, you're going to have to cut somebody. It was already tough to let some of these other guys go as they are going to be in new destinations now that you had on your team. It was already tough to kind of cut this roster down to 53 as is. I just don't see this team really doing that right now, Keith. I'll be honest with you. If I had to target a position, where would that be? I still got to think inside linebackers got to be on this team's radar. As long as Greenlaw, Alex Singleton, as long as that injury kind of those woes start continuing to happen. Again, hopefully these guys stay healthy for as most as possible this season. But if you start seeing injuries happen, the Denver Broncos in last year, they signed 2 veteran inside linebackers. I don't think they would be afraid to do so again and just try to get through the season. But inside linebacker probably would be where I would go if you had to sign somebody, but I don't even expect them to make any signings at this point in time. I think this is the roster they end up going with week 1.
Dan's coming in here and saying that Buffalo game sealed Estime's fate in Denver, and Phil McLaughlin is wondering if we pick up another QB or a running back. QB, we got Sam Ehlinger back onto the practice squad. In fact, this was the funny thing. We had retained, I believe, 86%, which was a league high of our roster from last year. And then when all the cuts happened, and you're trying to assemble your 16-man practice squad, Trevor, we brought in zero players from other rosters. We got 16 players of our own, including Sam Ellinger. To me, I don't see another quarterback. I don't see another running back at this point. I would say inside linebacker is one place I'd look. I would say offensive line is a potential with, again, I don't think anybody's over the moon for Wattenberg at this point. I think most people are already counting Ben Powers out the door as of next year. And, there wouldn't be bad to have another guy outside of, I don't know, Frank Crum or Calvin Throckmorton, Matt Parrott, you know what I mean? In the realm, especially if you're making that run at some point or you feel like you're lacking to start the season. I don't know. That might be one of the places I'd look. It's hey, it's a great play. Oh, how did I miss it? Maybe tight end as well.
Yeah.
Tight end might be something that you might be wanting to look around at, especially as the season progresses. That's where I'd be looking. But before the season starts, I don't think you're going anywhere.
Well, and another thing to keep in mind, this when the NFL did this after 2020, the ability to activate players on game day is something to keep an eye on. Like Adam Prentice being your fullback on your practice squad, I would expect him at some point in time to be activated for game day. And you can activate anybody from the practice squad. They get up to 2 activations throughout the season. After that, you have to sign them to your 53-man roster. So that's something to think about with like Lavelle Bailey, who is obviously back on the practice squad. And, Jordan Turner, Calvin Throckmorton, any of these guys, Caleb Lohner at some point in time, maybe probably not this year, but some of these guys are on the practice squad. You can activate up to twice this season. And so that's just something to kind of keep an eye on and gives you a little bit more flexibility. You don't have to make a roster move by any means. You can activate these guys and they can be a part of game day and help you win games.
Just kind of going full circle on that running back. Pearl's coming in and remind us that he did go to Philadelphia. I think that was mentioned a little bit earlier, but she's saying it's a tough place, man, and he might regret his time there. You do get probably to learn, obviously, next to one of the best in Saquon Barkley, but your path to the football field might be a little slim. I don't think they're looking to take Saquon off and put in Audric Estime anytime soon. Let's just put it that way. So, we'll see what the opportunity, is for Audric Estime for in Philadelphia and beyond. I'll be honest, man. I'm a positive guy, man. I hope the very best for him, especially as he's in the NFC. Let him take off. Let him have the best career ever. There's a certain part of me, I love the development that Sean Payton has brought, the development mindset, not only the mindset, the culture that he's brought to this Denver Broncos organization, what he expects from his coaches. I loved when he said, don't ever tell me what they can't do. Tell me what they can do. I think that tells me a lot about, Sean Payton and the way he wants to coach and the type of relationship he has with his players. But there's times when you miss the mark or the development doesn't happen or it doesn't click or whatever, whatever it happens to be. Audric Estime in Denver didn't seem to click. And the only downside for me is it was just 1 year. You know what I mean? For a young kid that might have a career. And I hope the very best to him, man. I hope the very best, but I think at the same time, man, you know me, man. I'm super excited about RJ Harvey. I hope he turns it on. He turns turns on the afterburners here as the season gets started.
Absolutely. And Keith, real quick, I didn't mean to say 2, I meant to say 3 roster elevations from players can get from the practice squad. I think I said 2. I didn't mean to say 2. So thank you, Roy, for correcting me there. I meant to say 3 roster elevations that players can get from the practice squad. So after the 4th time or the 4th time, you have to sign that player to the 53-man roster. So my apologies, Roy, for that. I meant to say 3.
Yeah, there you go, man. The posse, man, they're educated. They know what they're talking about, and they're keeping us on page and saying all the right things, keeping us legit out here, I guess is the best way. Totally legit. Mr. Clayton coming in here, man. Hey, guys. And always reminding to smash that like and share button, everybody. Man, we sure do appreciate it, man. It makes a huge difference in the algorithms. Means a lot more Broncos fans are in here rocking it with y'all, being a part of the posse, bringing their thoughts and comments. I bet you 10-1 that there are a few of you in here that didn't know about us until the algorithm came knocking upon your door, and we appreciate it a ton. Boy, just speaking of which, just trying to fish through everything y'all had to say. Paul's happy to see A.T. Perry. And Rodney brings up a great point. Another one that was brought up to Sean that we didn't talk about. Didn't put even in the promo. I really hope our punter, Jeremy Crawshaw, gets better on his punts. I think it was a net 25 or 26 yard average, if I remember correctly, from the preseason. This is a guy that was supposed to flip field position and have a leg, and now we're talking about a 25, 26 yard net average, man. That's not going to get it done in the long term. How long are you willing to develop a guy like Jeremy Crawshaw throughout this season, Trevor? Is it got to come quick?
I would say by mid-season, he's got to improve. I mean, a punter to me, anyway, I think it's one of those positions where you got to have a short leash as well. I mean, there's positions in football where there's a lot more shorter leashes than there is like quarterback. Like quarterback, depending on where you draft them, of course, you're going to have a longer leash. But I mean, I think punter, you can be replaced pretty quickly. I think with Crawshaw, though, this team is committed to building him up and developing the right way. You don't draft him, in the 6th round for you just to kind of cut him and just be a little bit of a disappointment. So, but I still want to give him time before you panic too much. I think he does have the leg. I think they've seen something in him. Darren Rizzi loves him. So just looking forward to see if he develops or not. If not, I think you got to go out and sign a veteran punter. This is kind of my worry, though, Keith. You let Riley Dixon go elsewhere. Riley Dixon, I don't think enough can be talked about how good Riley Dixon was for the Denver Broncos last year. Top 10 punter in the NFL last season. That's what you're missing from Riley Dixon. So tough shoes to fill for Crawshaw. He's a rookie. I'm willing to give him some time, though.
Yeah, a little bit of time, man. The thing that I brought it up on Tuesday's episode, man. Really hoping that we're not punting a whole lot. And if that be the case, then we've really kind of hidden maybe a weakness. And like even Sean said, they brought about in practice a different way of going about it. If you've ever been to a training camp practice, the offense is doing their thing and their defense is doing their thing, and then they kind of get together. But then there's special teams. And you do, I don't know, half a dozen punts, 8 punts in a row. And as Sean said, that's not reality. It's not how game works. You don't ever go out there and punt 8 times, 8 snaps in a row. It's like all of a sudden it's like, hey, whoa, punt team, get out there. We're going to punt this one. So now that's been implemented into practice. Supposedly this is maybe helping out. But I think the big thing is Darren Rizzi just came over here. This was his pet project. This was his draft pick, really. I don't know if you have a short leash per se. I wouldn't doubt if you're carrying a couple punters though on your roster at some point, as maybe a veteran is brought in and you still have faith in Jeremy Crawshaw. We just need to have a little time, and this so-and-so is going to give us that opportunity. I don't know. It just it feels like a weak point on this roster. Y'all are killing me with all these comments. I appreciate it. Pearl, though, brought this about, and it kind of brings me to a little part of what I did want to talk about. She was surprised that Lavelle Bailey didn't make the 53. I think everybody was. The big moment for me was sitting 20th in line and making sure that we got Lavelle Bailey back on our practice squad, and he was willing to do so. That was a big one for me. talk about this practice squad. How do you feel about the way it came together? Are there any holes for you in this practice squad, Trevor? Are you happy the way that George Payton, Sean Payton put it together? As we kind of talked about on Tuesday's episode, and even a little bit this evening, I think this bears mentioning. I'll just kick it off with this: Sam Ehlinger passing up on a couple of offers to be on a 53-man roster in order to be on the Denver Broncos practice squad speaks volumes about this team. And I've been talking about it for a while now. Players want to play for this team, man. And we got 16 players at Denver Broncos right back onto our team as well. What did you think about the 16 players, man?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost with Lavelle Bailey, I think that they had to kind of pick and choose. I mean, maybe there was some concern that Karini Reed would get claimed off waivers, and you would lose him, and you kept Lavelle Bailey. I think in this scenario, you were able to keep both players. You were able to
or Frank Crum,
or Frank Crum, and I mean, clearly, Sean Payton said the teams were calling about him. 3 teams maybe, but not. I don't think a ton, just because we haven't seen a ton of Frank Crum. I think. That's something Denver seems pretty high on is developing Frank Crum and see something special in him. And I mean, the tools are there. You just got to be able to put it together, and hopefully over time he does. And rooting for him for sure. But from a practice squad perspective, I thought Clay Webb was, and I had him making this 53-man roster, Keith. I thought it was a little strange they didn't keep him around. I thought he played really well. I thought the upside was there with him. You kept a guy like Matt Pert. And Frank Crum, and then Palczewski. You have 3 tackles on this roster. I thought you could have spared, I think, one of them. I think Pert would have been the guy that I would have spared a little bit more. Frank Crum got to step it up in year 2 a little bit more. He gets to see more playing time. You keep a guy like Clay Webb on this team. He's a guy that can rotate from center to guard. And I thought I had a real chance to be at least a 6th-round pick, maybe a 5th-round pick in the draft, possibly. Obviously, when undrafted. But I thought that was kind of a guy that I thought got, you let sneak away a little bit, going over to Tennessee, of course, and getting claimed from the Titans. So that was one guy. Courtney Jackson was a guy I know that multiple times we talked about maybe making this roster. I think Kenny had him making this roster at one point in time. I didn't think there's really a spot for him. I mean, yes, he's I think could be a contributor on special teams and could spare a guy like Marvin Mims, but what else is he going to bring to this roster? From a 6th wide receiver perspective. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I think I thought there was a couple guys they kind of let go. And, Clay Webb for me was probably the biggest, just because I'm real big on trenches and building within the trenches. And I thought you could have added another versatile guard to this team, especially with Ben Powers kind of going through some of his struggles through the preseason. And a guy like an upside kind of guy like Clay Webb, and you have Palczewski, who's solid, who's proven that he can be in there and be a starting tackle in the NFL and can contribute. And then you have your developmental guy in Frank Crum, who has that high upside. So I just thought Denver maybe lost out on that a little bit. Maybe went more of the higher floor guy with Pert over a guy like in the upside like Clay Webb. That's for me probably the biggest disappointment, though. Everything else I think kind of played out how I would have thought.
I'm gonna pick on Rodney. I'm sorry, Rodney. I've been scrolling through these comments as Trevor's been rambling on. No, Trevor's been giving us good insight and perspective on, this practice squad. And Rodney says, I was happy seeing Michael Bandy returning to the practice squad. Well, that's good, Rodney, because that's the only place he's ever at. He's on the practice squad. Michael Bandy, this is the thing that concerns me, Trevor. This wide receiver room isn't deep. We got rid of Devon Vele. Marvin Mims had an injury, and we're hoping that he's healthy and he returns, and he's everything that we expect out of Pro Bowl Marvin Mims returner come week 1. After all of a sudden, right after Devon Vele gets traded, Marvin Mims comes up, with an injury at a practice. We want Troy Franklin to be that guy. We want Pat Bryant to be that guy. Cortland Sutton, I think, is that guy at this point. We're going to put a lot of pressure on Evan Ingram. That's our wide receiver room. That's it. And then you got like A.T. Perry and and Michael Bandy, that doesn't necessarily make me feel too good about what's behind our core guys that we're going to have expectations for. You want to talk about a room that might need an upgrade, and I think it was Phil McLaughlin that asked what room could use an upgrade before the season starts. Wide receiver is a place that you usually see pretty good depth out there as far as the waivers are concerned and out there, available to you. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if all of a sudden you saw a signing for a wide receiver. This scares me, man. Michael Bandy is obviously not the answer because we've never called him up. We've never called him up for a game day roster as a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Never, not once. But man, he continues to be there year in and year out. Michael Bandy. It concerns me, Trevor. It concerns me a lot. So, Rodney, sorry if I'm taking it to you just a little bit there, but for me, it's a place that I do have a concern.
Keith, you also know what's surprising? Kind of surprising, I should say. They didn't keep multiple tight ends. I mean, you kept Caleb Lohner, that was it. You didn't keep Caden Prieskorn at all. I mean, that's a guy that I thought outplayed Caleb Lohner in the preseason. I was a little surprised by that. I know that Lohner has the upside, and I mean, the size, you got to love that. And I'm not opposed to keeping Caleb Lohner. I just thought you'd keep Caden Prieskorn. I mean, I just thought there was something there with him. And I'm a little surprised he hasn't been picked up by another team yet. And I just thought that Denver missed out on an opportunity to possibly keep him around. I thought that he really showed something there. Of course, the fumble, I get that, but he's out there making plays. He's out there running around. I know it's third stringers or whatnot, but you look for stuff like that. You look for players that kind of stand out. I thought Prieskorn stood out to me a little bit, and I just would have thought they at least would have brought him back to the practice squad.
Kenny's wanting to know if KJ Hamler could make his way back here. I mean, seems like that's a long, long time ago. KJ Hamler name.
Yeah.
Maybe just too many ties to Nathaniel Hackett in my mind to contemplate a KJ Hamler return. But I mean, I haven't scoured. It's just a great question that came up from Phil and got me thinking about this roster and where you turn. And tight end is another one, like you said. Where do you turn? Right now it's a place that we would love to see more depth. Kind of scary that we're talking about wide receiver and tight end, and we're not really sure about our running backs at this point either. Trevor, seems like that could put a lot of pressure on one quarterback, Bo Nix, this upcoming season. And that's the last thing we wanted. That's the opposite direction of what we thought we'd be going in. But I do got to say, man, what we've seen, obviously, from Cortland Sutton for multiple years now, what we've seen from Troy Franklin this offseason, what we've seen from Pat Bryant in limited, what we've seen even from Trent Sherfield in limited, what we saw in Evan Ingram in one big, beautiful play. I think there's a lot there to love. I'm not pushing the panic button at this time, but there is some places of depth and some places of concern, as many as we have some places of strength, which I think there's plenty on this Denver Broncos team as well.
Yeah, and for me, I'm fine with wide receivers room. I think that there's actually a lot of really good depth there, and I think you allow guys like Troy Franklin and even Sherfield. I don't think Sherfield's going to get a lot of touches, but I think he may get. You may see Sean Payton get a little creative, and he might be out there, once in a while. You know how Sean Payton loves. He loves to substitute these guys in and out. So all these wide receivers are going to get used. Cortland Sutton's your number one guy as of right now. You're hoping Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims and Pat Bryant start kind of getting closer to being that number one wide receiver, kind of start closing that gap a little bit. But you have young talent in the wide receiver room, and the Broncos they've invested in the wide receiver room, which I really like, and I like the depth that they have. By trading a guy like Devon Bailey, that allows Troy Franklin to be on the field more. That allows Pat Bryant to see the field a little bit more. Marvin Mims as well. So you're starting to see these guys just really start to open up playing time for some of these guys, going forward into the season. And it's just, if you're the Broncos, you're hoping one of these guys pops.
Yeah, I'll hit this one first. Peter Johnson It does bring about a great point. I think we were both pretty impressed the way that Palczewski stood up and played, especially in McGlinchey's absence last year. He's saying, "Hey, man," he goes, he can play inside, he can play outside. He's a pretty versatile guy. That's another guy that I didn't mention, kind of brushed right over my mind, and I appreciate Peter bringing it to the forefront. Rodney says, how concerned are you guys with that Mims injury? Would you maybe possibly sit him in week 1 versus the Titans? Uh, I know we're jumping the gun. We'll be talking a lot more about the Titans come for next Friday. Trevor, I know this injury happened, though, basically right now. So we'll talk about it. And what are your thoughts right now on Marvin Mims and this injury with which is basically a week to go?
Yeah, it's a groin. I mean, he's something you got to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe on the snap count at some point in time as we get closer to week 1. But I don't think I'd completely sit him if he's able to go. He's young enough that I think you can roll him out there. But it's something to keep an eye on because groin injuries continue to be seems like an issue for athletes throughout the season, for football players throughout the season. So it seems like they kind of continue to nag. So something to keep an eye on. I wouldn't set Mims, but maybe at some point in time could see him on the snap count on the offensive side of the ball. But I think so far so good on Marvin Mims from what we've been hearing back. So I think he's good to go until he's not.
Yeah, I guess so. You know what I mean? Nothing to see here. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. As of right now, it's really tough when it comes to Sean Payton. So, but good things, I guess, until we hear otherwise. Phil dropped stars, and I'm trying to keep a show roll and jump around a couple different pages. So, Phil, appreciate you just making note of it. He says there a certain time frame in which we George taken care of.
We can get George Payton. He's talking about.
Oh, well, talk about it, man. It sounds like you're up on it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think this could be probably more of an off-season thing or something that get done going into the off-season, Phil. I mean, George Payton's coming up on his contract, and well-deserved. I mean, I don't think at this point in time I can't see George Payton leaving the Denver Broncos. I even said at the time I backed George Payton up even when he made the Russell Wilson trade and even the Nathaniel Hackett hire, which I didn't like in the first place. I still stood up for George Payton because I said, this is a guy that could get a job anywhere around the league. He can be, if he's not going to be the GM of the Denver Broncos, he will get a job immediately as soon as he's available. So, and he is good in the draft. So, this is a GM that I think you want to keep around. He's built a good culture. He's teamed up well with Sean Payton, got along with Sean Payton pretty well. I think they got a happy medium relationship. They kind of know what they want. So, I think they'll get George Payton done and taken care of here pretty soon. I don't think that's their number one priority. I think they want to get Nik Bonitto locked up first and foremost, but I could definitely see George Payton, getting a contract extension at the very least. At the very latest, I think it'll be in the offseason, probably early in the offseason.
I got another question for you right out the gate, man.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, you go back, you think about this wide receiver room right now. You tell me, do you consider them awesome? Last year's wide receiver room, awesome?
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
I'd say no.
Okay. So Phil McLaughlin's coming in. He's got a last opinion. He says, last opinion for tonight. I may be optimistic, but I feel this wide receiver room is going to be awesome this year. It's the tight end and linebacker rooms he's worried about. Rightfully so. Man, we just got done talking about linebackers. We just got done talking about tight ends. What position group do you feel that may not have been awesome last year that you're excited about this year? And would it be wide receivers just like Phil's bringing at us right now?
Yeah, I would say wide receivers probably because here's the thing. Last season, this team had Josh Reynolds. You had Devon Bailey. This year, and Devon Bailey turned out to be pretty dang good. I mean, you're able to get the amount of draft capital you got back for him just kind of tells you what teams think about Devon Bailey around the league. So, but you had Josh Reynolds. I mean, and you're just kind of hoping and praying that you got some productivity from Josh Reynolds. And so this season you have upside. You have upside with Pat Bryant. You have upside with Troy Franklin. You've got young wide receivers in this wide receiver room. and these guys have an open window to show what they have and be productive. I think that's for me. So what's appealing is the upside that this wide receiver room has going forward compared to what you had last season, and another season for Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims to be seasoned in there as well.
I like Troy Franklin, man, in that group, man. If there's a wide receiver that I would put my biggest gain year over year on, it would be Troy Franklin last year versus this year. But that's not where I'm going, man. I'll go someplace different. I'm going to put myself a little bit on the limb. I'm going to say the running back room, man. You go out there and you get J.K. Dobbins. If y'all haven't watched J.K. Dobbins in his prime and went out there and checked out some footage of J.K. Dobbins in his prime and what he's capable of, if J.K. Dobbins can stay healthy, if R.J. Harvey is everything I hope, wish, somewhat expect to be, this running back room could absolutely transform, and we could be talking about how awesome this running back room is real quick. It'll be really interesting to see how this wide zone scheme works out for the offensive line and Sean Payton. And of course, this running back room, including these two. But I think those two are the key right there. And if they get it off and running, no pun intended, then the pressure for Bo Nix, the start to this season, what we're capable of doing long term, because grinding it out late in games, grinding it out in a playoff game, grinding it out in order to get that win late, that's what's needed sometimes, man. That this running back room can get that done, man. We'll be talking about how awesome they are. That's where I'm at, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I'm there with you, Keith. I have my own concerns with the running back room, but I know you're pretty high on RJ Harvey. So, hopefully they do end up turning things around, because I don't think you can rely upon Bo Nix as much as you did last season. It may be a hot topic or not, but it's just what Bo Nix was able to do last year to carry this offense and move the football down the field. You can't count on him to do that again this season. He's got to have more help, especially and specifically in that running back room. And I think Sean Payton knows it, and he's going to try to get whatever he can out of this running back room, but you got to have more productivity than you had last season. Pretty much all season you were unable to run the football, and defenses were just able to get after Bo Nix as much as possible. And Bo Nix is so great of getting rid of the football. Thank the Lord, because could you imagine how many sacks he would have taken possibly if he was not very good at getting rid of the football and getting the ball out of his hand quickly? I mean, it's just something
I can imagine. I saw it the year before Bo Nix.
I was going to say without saying it, but yeah, Russell Wilson. I mean, they have to get this running back room going. We've harped on this a lot, but it's something that it just needs to happen. I mean, you can't just rely upon Bo Nix. You got to have more productivity from everybody on the offensive side of the ball, including those running backs.
Yeah, I guess one last one. Who's the bell cow? Asked Rodney. Paul tried to answer him, saying Dobbins. I'll be the quick one, man.
Yeah,
Dobbins for 4 games. RJ Harvey for 13. That's where I'm at, man. That's if I'm going to call this this running back by committee, these two guys awesome. RJ Harvey needs to step up pretty quickly and be fairly formidable, and J.K. Dobbins is the addition at that point.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to answer this for you too, Rodney. I don't think there is a bell cow running back in this offense right now. I don't think that's how Sean Payton rolls. I bet he's going to use a mixture of different running backs. All 4 running backs I fully expect to be used this season. They all have different traits, and it's just that's the case with a lot of teams around the league right now. It seems like teams are going more with a running back committee, using multiple running backs to try to keep your star running back healthy as possible throughout the season, because it is a lot of workload for one running back all season to be getting the carries. For the most part, I mean, there's definitely some teams out there, Bijan Robinson, some of these other running backs, Saquon Barkley, that get the ball a lot. But it just takes a toll on those guys' body eventually. Teams, I think, right now are valuing keeping their star running backs on the field as much as possible. So, but with Sean Payton specifically, you're going to see multiple running backs being used per game. And I don't think there's going to be one bell cow in this running back room this season.
So Michael, man, this is what happens, man, when you don't have a producer and you're trying to be all over the place. Michael sent some stars. We added a new international player, and I'll be honest, Michael, working man of many jobs. I missed it myself. He says Broncos added a new international player after Jeremy Crawshaw making the 53-man roster, and he's pointing out that it was a tight end as well. So I'll be honest, Michael, thanks first and foremost for being up on the Broncos the way that you are. B, I'm a little ashamed that I'm not up with that knowledge at the moment. And C, I promise to come back with more information about that in the future. And I guess D, if there was going to be a D on this big old list, thank you so much, man, for the stars, man. You, Phil McLaughlin, by the way, Phil dropped 200 stars on his last comment. Appreciate you so much. But I appreciate the entire posse. I see Martin is coming in here a little bit later and saying hello and being a part of the conversation. So Martin, good to see you over there on YouTube as well. Man, what a night, man. We're already into overtime, Trevor. I know that we could probably go another 30 minutes, especially with the way that the posse is rocking this evening, man. Appreciate you. Love you all so much. But we do probably need to get rolling and get out of here. Give you some final thoughts. Let you have some time to say goodbye, man. And then let's roll on out of here. Let everyone have a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. And then the tight end, international tight end, I should say, that Michael is alluding to is Patrick Murtau. You know, an international guy that the Broncos could sign because they have an international spot on their practice squad. Teams have that. They have that flexibility, so they end up getting another tight end on the roster. My apologies as well, because I said they had one tight end on the roster, on their practice squad. They actually have two. So thank you for that correction, Michael. And yes, that just, I think, happened a couple of days ago. So, you know, hopefully eventually we see good things out of Patrick Murtau. But yeah, I mean, huge thank you to everybody in the posse. You know, hopefully everybody enjoyed the agenda tonight. Thank you, posse, for some of the corrections. I didn't know that me and Keith talk for a whole hour, so sometimes we miss some things. So you know, just want to shout out our posse for everything they do for us and keeping us on our toes as always. But hopefully everybody has a great weekend. We'll see everybody next time. New schedule coming out, so I think that, you know, we'll be keeping everybody up to date with that here very, very soon. But hopefully everybody has a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy college football, because I think the Buffs are playing right now as well. So enjoy college football, and hopefully everybody enjoys their weekend. Happy holidays as well to everybody, and enjoy your holiday off if you have it. But as always, we'll see you guys next time. Go Broncos.
Paul saying Chargers versus Chief in Brazil on Friday. You don't want to watch that. You want to watch us, guys. Come on over. Talk a little bit of Denver Broncos football as we get ready for the matchup versus the Tennessee Titans. Man, always a fantastic show. Man, you guys, gals, y'all rock it. You're in here. We changed up the time. I'm going to say it again, man. If you're subscribing, if you're making sure you're hitting that notification button, that's going to help you out a lot. If you're loving, liking, sharing, subscribing, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify. Take us on the go. We'd love a listen on the go, and maybe a nice little review over there. 5 stars is always fantastic. No, we appreciate you all so very, very much, man. We've been growing, and we've been pulling y'all along with us. We appreciate the love and the support, man. It's been a fantastic episode, Trevor. We broke down a lot about this Denver Broncos team, the expectations of what we have as they start getting geared up for this week 1, now just 7-8 days away, it seems. And it'll, before we know it, man, we're going to be right in the thick of it. This Denver Broncos team is what it will be as well. Man, I can't wait to be in the thick of it. Like Trevor mentioned, we're going to have some schedule changes, maybe even some new shows coming up around the corner. So watch for all that. Can't wait to bring you all along for the ride, man, because it's always a fantastic ride when the season gets started. But we got to get out of here. We get out of here one way only. Make sure you keep those boots in the stirrups, guns in the holsters. Denver Broncos in your heart. Until next time, everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day. We'll see you soon. Thank you.